to start a little reset, refresh. Close your eyes, nice deep breathing in through the nose, hold, exhale, and hold. And then we'll do it a few times. As we do, you're going to really focus on resetting that mental and emotional state as well, so that you can shift away from all the things that need to be done, all the to-do lists and stress, and shift to gratitude, what you're thankful for, grateful for, prayer. You can use scripture, affirmations. So it's just a little mental emotional reset. Takes about a minute or less. You can do it shorter. And I like that this is easy to remember and easy to integrate into your daily routines. All right, so we're gonna play. All right, so that's a little quick. That was actually less than a minute. Just a little something to help reset. Like I said, I love things like that because they are so simple and easy to use. Does not take long, and it's easy to picture a square and kind of remember that strategy or technique, if you will. But there are ways of doing it where it's like more of a triangle, or just simply closing your eyes and taking a deep breath, or few if you need to, especially if you notice that you've had kind of a crazy day. There's a lot going on. You feel maybe a little overwhelmed, stressed, whatever it is. It's a great reset. And as I mentioned in the beginning, of course, it's really awesome to improve our oxygen flow and uptake for our systems, for our brain, for all the things. And as I said in the beginning, a lot of times we don't realize how much shallow breathing we're doing throughout the day, which means we're building up carbon dioxide. We're not getting our full oxygen capacity, and that can contribute to inflammation, among other nervous system dysregulation and other challenges. So all right, I'm going to share a little bit of strategies and information with you. If you're catching this replay later and you haven't connected with me, or you were invited by a friend, welcome, welcome. So glad that you are here. I'm Miriam. My clients call me the holistic therapist. I am a licensed holistic therapist. I also do massage therapy, lymphatic therapy for many of my in-person clients. And I have many clients that I love, love, love to come alongside and support your well-being. I am licensed and certified in several different areas of specialized nutrition to help support brain health, hormone health, endocrine system, cardiovascular system, nervous system, several different things so that we can improve our well-being. So my area of specialty is to really bring together those daily strategies and tools for your mental, emotional, and physical well-being in a way that even if you're really busy, or you feel like you have a lot going on and it's hard to work on your health and well-being, you're going to do these little things in about 60 seconds or so, a couple times a day, and be able to sustain habits that will improve your well-being long term. Some people are working on things like weight loss. Some people just want to reduce inflammation, feel more energy, function better. Others are working on things like hormone balance, diabetes and blood sugar balance, or just have insulin resistance and they know that they need to work on that. And some just want to improve their daily routines and have better health and well-being overall. So everyone's in a little bit different place. And at the end of these sessions, if you're joining in the live sessions weekly, we go through those specific tools that are going to fit into your daily routine. So let me share real quick here, and we'll go through some strategies for you. Let's see if I can get this to like me. Takes a second. There we go. Okay. All right. I'm going to share some information. And last time we kind of did an introduction. Right now we are starting kind of a new series where we're going through ways that we can help our body to get rid of the junk and reset and refresh. So here you see a lot of nutrition related information. We kind of touched on some of these things last time. So I'll go through them in a minute here. But as we get going here, I do want to touch on some things that should not be considered normal. So here's like a few, some of these things are in this list, but it doesn't just apply for your gut. And yes, we will go through detox and some strategies and things that you can use to help clear out the junk from not just your gut, but also your lymphatic system, also things like heavy metals, any things that have been hanging out in the system, things like viruses can love to hang out, bacteria, all kinds of stuff. So we're going to go through that. But I do want to touch really quick on what we should not consider normal. I think a lot of times in our society today, it's become sort of normal that when we eat or have a meal or a snack, that many people think, oh, I guess it's just normal to have acid reflux, to feel bloated, inflamed, maybe constipated or diarrhea or a little bit of both or whatever, just general maybe fatigue, the food coma is very common, things like that. To often have headaches. People consider having headaches 2 to 3 times a week to be relatively normal, as long as it's not like a migraine, which is still a concern. Things like the brain fog, low energy, difficulty focusing, having a lot of like squirrel brain or mom brain, as it's called, those kinds of things. Having rashes, whether it's just like a little bit of eczema or like something more along the lines of a psoriasis and those kinds of things. People have come to just kind of figure, well, I guess that's just kind of how I am. They feel like it's just, well, that's my genetics, or whatever, right? Having allergies often, getting sniffly a lot, waking up just congested and sinuses, full, that kind of thing. Having just hormonal imbalances. Women get into their 30s and 40s and just kind of brushed off, well, I guess I'm, premenopausal and there's nothing that can be done. Having frequent irritability, difficulty sleeping deeply, waking up and not really feeling rested. And like I said, this is more than what's on this list. This list is kind of just scratching the surface, but having autoimmune issues, and even just having frequent acne breakouts or like monthly acne breakouts of some kind as a woman, those are relatively common. Many of those things that I've mentioned are somewhat common. That doesn't mean that they should be considered normal. That doesn't mean there is not a way to actually resolve those things with time and starting to change some of these habits. So even though we are going to talk about detox, I want you guys to keep in mind that the real ultimate goal with these sessions is to build little things into your routine that you can maintain for your lifetime, basically, so that you can still enjoy the occasional eating out or go to a birthday party and have a little bit of cake or something like that, but not feel terrible and not have many of those things in the list to resolve most of the things that I just listed, because your daily normal rhythms support your overall well-being, your gut health, help with the inflammation, help keep those hormones balanced, blood sugar balanced, so that those issues begin to resolve. It can take some time, so I'm not going to say at the end of this, these 8 sessions or whatever, that it's going to be completely gone. Everyone is different. I will say that. Everyone has different things going on, but I will say you can start to change your habits and you will start to feel better little by little by little. And it gets easier and easier and easier as you start to build these things in. Okay, so last time we did touch on what are some reasons why you might need a detox. Some of those things I just listed are those. We talked a little bit about how almost everyone has some amount of a little bit of damage in the gut lining just because of preservatives in foods, just sugar, just processed sugar in general. Some people it's more, some people have more difficulty because of things like gluten and dairy, or not even just because of gluten and dairy, but because of the way those things were processed and what has been added into them, how they have been made, or where they came from with the glyphosate and other pesticides and things like that that have caused damage. So just having an awareness of that is important, because then especially if you're over the age of 25, the average person over the age of about 25 starts to have a harder time with digestion in general, inflammation, and the body has a harder time because our cells don't repair as quickly. When we're young, our cells repair so fast that we can probably eat whatever we want. Many people will say that, well, I used to be able to eat whatever I wanted, and I hardly ever exercised or whatever, or didn't really do many things, and I felt great. I never had any issues. Why is that? For many people, that's because when we're young, our cells just repair on a dime, almost instantly. That starts to decline about the age 25 approximately, and steadily we have more damage that's sticking around, and it just continues. And then when you add in life stress, maybe a little bit of lack of sleep, busyness, with work, family, whatever, you add in, the occasional treats, eating out, fast food, sugars, whatever, processed crackers, cookies, pretzels, chips, all those kind of things that are processed, right? Little by little by little, it starts accumulating and causing more and more inflammation, more and more damage, more and more issues. And then we hit 30 or 40 or somewhere in there, and all of a sudden we've got hormone imbalances, we've got blood sugar imbalances, maybe an insulin resistance, or it's really hard to lose weight, or maintain or manage weight, or other things like the fatigue, the brain fog, those things in the list. It shows up a little differently for each person. Those are all reasons that a detox can be very, very helpful. So last time we went through this kind of list here of what are some things that you can do. So this is a nice kind of simplified action plan. So if you're like, I don't really know where to start, if you're ready to do a little bit of a detox, this is a great starting point, where many of these things take 30 seconds to a minute in your routine, something like in the morning, waking up. And I'm going to actually add to this greens or minerals, something you want to get water in your system, hydration, and some sort of minerals or nutrients into your body before you have coffee. So I'm going to add that too, just as a clarifying, before coffee. Okay. So that your system can have those nutrients that your brain needs. It's going to support hormone balance. It's going to support blood sugar balance. It's going to reduce inflammation throughout many different areas. Also, this is going to help with your adrenal system, which means not spiking your cortisol super high first thing in the morning, which can contribute to more inflammation, slower metabolism later in the day, more anxiety later in the day. We need a little bit of cortisol, but not first thing right when we wake up. So we want to support our brain and our body in that way. We went through utilizing enzymes. If you don't have a good enzyme, I have recommendations on ones that you can order either Amazon, or there's one other one that I like if you have a lot of more allergies and other inflammatory things. Utilizing herbs. We went through that a little bit, and we'll go through more today. Using something like a binder. I love there's a mineral one that's really easy. So you can use a dose of it in the morning when you wake up with water, and then you can use a dose of it in the evening or later in the day. That helps bind onto heavy metals, toxins, parasites, overgrowth of yeast and bacteria in the system, or candida, if you want to call it, as well as just additives and preservatives that have kind of built up in our system over the days. And that one is nice because it can be used for a very long time. It's very, very simple and easy. Doesn't have a taste, which is nice. Now, today we're going to also get into figuring out how long you might need a detox for. So we're going to talk about that in a second. And then just incorporating more things. What I like to, I use the word detox, but what I like to think of it is we're adding more of the good stuff, less of the harmful stuff. Okay. Why is that? Because I don't like the, diets or detoxes where people instantly just think of, I can't eat anything, that it's taking away. We don't want to have that mindset, that mentality that we're taking away. What we want to do is reset the focus on filling up our meals and our snacks with really yummy, delicious things that are good for us. And yes, it can taste good. You can still use the awesome like sea salt and things like that. But when you are doing a detox where you kind of want to clear out the stem a little bit, you don't have to live in the bathroom. Some people, everyone's a little bit different. Some people, the first day or two or so, you might go to the bathroom more because the system might be clearing out a little bit, but you shouldn't have to like live in there. You may want to plan to start like on a weekend or something like that. But you do want to increase these things in this list because not only do these things help clear out junk from our system, see if I can zoom in that for you, especially herbs, citrus, greens, and I love spirulina. So if you need a good organic spirulina that you can add and mix into things, let me know. Can send that to you later. Things like garlic, turmeric, and fresh ginger, fresh garlic, fresh turmeric. The powder is better than nothing, absolutely, but I always recommend fresh if you can. So next time you go to the store, try to keep the fresh on hand the best that you can. And nutrient dense foods. Why? Because as you start to clear out junk from your system, you want to replenish and support your body's ability to reduce inflammation and not end up having detox and symptoms like headache and stuff like that. People will get some things sometimes if we don't have enough hydration, minerals, and things like this that are really high in antioxidants to help our body with the inflammation and everything. So these are things you're going to focus on, and I have more that we'll go through in a minute, but this is a nice kind of starting point. Here's our fresh ginger and turmeric down here, okay? These ones are really great. If you can incorporate order, you don't have to use everything on this list. I want to clarify that because some people are like, that's a lot of things. The most important things are these two friends down here, ginger, turmeric, your fresh garlic and as many meals a day as you can, or soups and things like that. The citrus, lemon, lime is actually my favorite. It's really, really high in antioxidants. So you want lots of good lemon and lime during a detox time. Now, you need a break sometimes from too much citrus in your water and stuff like that because you don't want to degrade, your teeth a lot, but you can use straws and things like that or incorporate it in different ways. Lime is very, very high in antioxidants, helps your liver to detox, help the kidneys to detox. It does a lot of things. So I always encourage people, whether you're doing a little bit of a detox reset for a season, a time, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever that is, or if you just went out to eat at a restaurant, you just got back from a birthday party celebration or something where you maybe ate some things you don't normally eat or were not very helpful, use citrus in tea. Grab yourself some herbal tea, anything herbal, rosemary, peppermint, ginger and lemon tea, ginger lemon turmeric tea, anything like that. put lots of citrus in there, fresh squeezed citrus. That will help your system to process through what it is that, you ate or whatever, and help sort of do a mini detox. And you do that after you've, eaten out or whatever it was, celebration, and the next day, even possibly depending on, if you also had maybe some alcohol and stuff too, your body might need a little extra support. You could go another day or two after that. So up to 3 days after where you've eaten some things that are not very helpful. You're going to want to do lots of herbs, lots of fresh ginger, turmeric, garlic, and citrus. Those are like the first priority. Cilantro also falls in that herb category. So if you can incorporate lots of fresh cilantro, basil, oregano, thyme, fresh is, ideal, into your meals for the next day or two or three, then that's going to really support your body's ability to pull that stuff out. Like I said, in addition to these strategies that you can integrate in, and like I said, a lot of these things are so simple. It doesn't take much. And we have that list right here that we listed some of those most important things to incorporate in. More of the good stuff, less of the things that cause issues. Here's a list of some herbs. So as you're keeping an eye out for herbal teas at the store when you're getting your groceries and stuff, these are kinds of things you want to keep your eye out for. Like I said, I love spirulina because it comes in a powder. If you can get a good organic quality, look for that USDA symbol. You can incorporate that in so many things. Dandelion is one of my favorites, and it's relatively common, I feel like, at a lot of stores. That really helps the system to detox, antioxidants, supports your liver, so many different things. So definitely really helpful to keep in mind when you're looking for stuff at the store. And then we kind of talked about some of these, that these foods are not always bad, but you really want to look for certified organic, wash really well, be cautious because how they're kind of like processed can end up with aluminum, lead, mercury, heavy metals because of, for example, potatoes absorb whatever's in the soil. They're a root vegetable, just like even ginger, turmeric, beets are over here, right? Any of those root vegetables, mushrooms, actually, they absorb everything in the soil. So if that soil where they came from had heavy metals in it, which is unfortunately relatively common, then that's going to be in the potatoes, right? So just being aware of where your food is coming from. These are things to be extra cautious of that can cause more inflammation depending on how it was processed, where it came from. So I like to just kind of put this on your radar to watch out for. Some of these things can have some inflammatory issues if you're not getting good quality certified organic or better, cereals and stuff. Of course, cereals are a whole other discussion because they add in artificial vitamins to them, they fortify them, so that can cause issues, among also just the being sprayed with a glyphosate, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, all that stuff. So again, look for quality or eliminate them for a while and see how you feel. I actually had a few clients recently who did that, where they were having rashes and a lot of inflammatory things going on. And I said, let's just see what happens if you eliminate grains for a while. Let's just see. Guess what? That stuff all basically cleared up, or it was like 90 something percent better. And there's a few reasons for that. It could be heavy metals, but it also could be where, soil it came from, how it was processed in a manufacturing facility on metal machinery, and or how it was sprayed before it got into the product or food that you're currently eating, consuming. Same thing with dark chocolate. Really look for quality. Moderation is always key. I don't think some good organic dark chocolate is a terrible thing, but moderation is always going to be helpful. And you want to always pair it with something that's going to give you nutrients and be helpful for your body, like nuts and seeds, so that you're actually getting some really good proteins and minerals and nutrients along with it. So here's some steps. If you think you have leaky gut, or if you just think you generally need a detox on some level, here's some helpful things. You can focus on increase your liquids, increase your hydration, increase your water intake. You can look into food allergies. Like I said, half of the battle is more the quality of the food that's causing an allergy issue rather than an actual genetic, a histamine response. That can happen. It can be something to definitely look into. But I would say try switching things out and doing a detox process first, and then go and, investigate that further if you need to. Definitely consider any bacterial, viral, other infections that could be contributing to your issues. A lot of people have overgrowth of candida in the gut that they don't realize is there because it's very sneaky, and it will show up as things like rashes, acne, mood issues, hormone disruption, just general inflammation and bloating, digestive, issues. But it may not, some people may not know that it's actually candida unless you do like a blood test. I had one client who they found that the candida was so prolific, it was just hanging out in the bloodstream because it had just grown so much. So what does that mean? That means we go through a detox process. We cut out all sugar, starchy foods, processed foods, right? We reset, we refresh with all the good things, more of the good things, your herbs, your good proteins, omega-3s, your nutrient dense foods, okay, minerals, right? We replenish with all the good things, and then we give the body a little time to heal before we go back to some more like normal. Some things may become less and less normal, like some of the fast food and stuff like that. Over time, it gets easier to have less of it because you realize how good you feel when you don't have those things. So it usually becomes less and less and less with all of the kind of more junk, food and snacks and things like that. Be careful about those more inflammatory things like dairy, beans, things like that. So some of those I already touched on, gluten, things like that. Some medications can affect the gut a lot. So making sure you're aware if you are on medications or if you have been in the recent past, that you consider that. And if you're still taking them, it may take longer to heal the gut. You may want to talk to the doctor about slowly phasing off of some of those things or finding ways to adapt. So it depends on what it is and how long you've been doing it and all that. If you've been on an antibiotic in the last year, you probably have some gut work that you need to do. Antibiotics have a time and a place where they're necessary. However, they do highly impact the gut. They can cause an imbalance pretty quickly and more inflammation, less hydration. It can sort of dry up the gut. Like some of this here talks about reducing stomach acid can damage the mucosa and the lining of the gut. So it just makes it harder to process, and it makes it easier for things like bad bacteria and candida to build up in the gut. So we want to be aware of all those things. Things like regulating the nervous system. That's one of my favorite strategies. I think we touched on it last time. Before any snack or meal, if you can even take 30 seconds and do a few of those deep breaths, that can be really, really helpful. We did that in the beginning here with the square breathing, which I love that was one of the first strategies in the 21-day challenge. Those of you who are in the 21-day challenge, I love that because it's so easy and simple, but it's really effective before you eat. Why? Because you're lowering your cortisol a little bit, you're increasing serotonin a little bit, you're improving your oxygen. Guess what happens? Your metabolism improves. Your body can process what you're eating a lot better. If we're not eating in a tense state, even if you don't feel stressed, but if we're not eating in a tense state, if we're in a more relaxed, happy state when we are eating, we are not storing as much fat. We're metabolizing better. our body actually absorb nutrients better. So the nutrients from the food, we can use them better. Whereas when we're stressed, we don't absorb a whole lot. We store a lot more fat when we're a little bit, I don't want to say stressed, tense, if you will, because sometimes we don't really consider it stress. That happened. One of my clients a long time ago, she was saying all she ate every day was like a salad for lunch and like vegetables and protein for dinner or something. And she was gaining weight. Why? Because her stress level, her tension level was very high. She was kind of in a fight or flight state constantly with her job, and her body was not able to absorb nutrients. Her cortisol was probably pretty high. She was constantly storing fat. The inflammation was probably pretty high. So, as we addressed those things as much as possible, it improved and she was able to lose weight, balance hormones, feel better, have better energy, and absorb nutrition better. Movement. I'm going to talk about that today a little bit more on the lymphatic system and movement and how that's a really big part of a detox or reset if that's something that you're wanting to work on. But really every day we need it. So that's very, very important. Things that help support the gut, like probiotics, prebiotics. But I actually, this, is relatively older information based on what I've seen with so many clients that you actually have more results with starting with enzymes first, especially during a detox, because we're working on the enzymes are actually helping you get rid of the bad things and hold onto and absorb and use the nutrients you do need. Probiotics. So enzymes help with the inflammation and they help the body get rid of the bad and use the good, right? Or so enzymes do that, but probiotics actually just help increase our good bacteria in our gut. They don't get rid of the bad bacteria. So that's another sort of myth that I talk about a lot because probiotics don't fix the gut. They can be helpful. They have their place. They're especially useful after like a detox and reset where you've given the gut a chance to heal and you want to increase your good bacteria so that you can digest things better and all of that. But they're not going to actually fix the gut. They are not going to get the bad stuff out. So we do need to clear out the bad things first. So I don't want to make sure I mention that. Enzymes, there we go. There's the enzymes right there. And then things that have good proteins and aminos to help with the gut immune function and repair that gut lining, that gut barrier function. That's going to be helpful as well. So we kind of already talked about that. All right, I want to touch on movement and lymphatic just a little bit because sometimes when we are thinking about a little bit of a reset or a detox in some way, we forget that movement is very, very key for the body being able to get rid of any kind of junk that we want to get rid of. So let me pull that up here in a second. And of course, if you guys have questions as we go along, please put them in the chat so I can make sure I get to them at the end because I know how it is where you think of something and then it leaves the brain and maybe it doesn't come back right away. So you can throw those in the chat. I will definitely get to those at the end. Of course, lymphatic system, if you're like, well, what is that? Or if you're not familiar, throughout our entire body, we commonly think of our lymph when we think of like having a sore throat and our lymph nodes are swollen, right? Well, there's a lot more to the lymph system than that. That's one, area of lymph glands. We have lymph glands in almost every single joint in our body. So it's important to understand that throughout. So, inside the elbow, under the arm, in the hip joint, in the knee, behind the knees, in around the ankles, around the neck, the collarbone area, and then up into the throat as well, we have lymph glands. All of those lymph glands are entirely dependent on movement to drain out toxins from the body. And that includes bacteria, viruses, heavy metals, synthetics from our air fresheners, pollution outside, things, anything that we might breathe in from cleaning chemicals, beauty products, hairsprays, nail salon, any of those things that might be coming into our system, whether it's topical, whether it's breathed in, or whether it's from our foods and things like that. All of those things have to be processed. So I'm trying to find my diagram here. It ran away from me. See if I can pull up my lymphatic diagram. So we do need to make sure we're moving every day. Do you need a lymphatic massage every day? Probably not every day. However, you want to be moving in some capacity. And that's why so many times when we do these sessions, I talk about stretching. Because if you can just maybe twice a day do a little bit of stretching, you will move that lymph enough that you can get rid of more of those toxins and help support the body's ability to detox. Well, my lymphatic diagram ran away from me, so I'm just going to pull one up really quick. So I want you guys to think about, what is something you already do in your daily routine that you can add a quick 30 to 60-second stretch into that routine? Is it before you brush your teeth, after you brush your teeth? Is it after you eat your lunch, maybe? After you get home from work? Is it in the evening when you're watching TV? Could you do a minute or two of a little bit of stretching? What are those times in your routine that you could fit that in? Ideally, 3 times a day would be super awesome. But I know that sometimes that's not realistic. I also want to encourage you guys that no matter what strategies you're going to be using from this session or the ideas that we've talked about, it's okay if you miss a day. Don't beat yourself up. Don't throw in the towel. That's one of the reasons that I love to do these group sessions, is so that we can kind of encourage each other, cheer each other on, and know that even if you have an off day, an off week, that you can pick it back up and you can start one. Even if you only do one small thing a day, that's a win. And I want you to focus on that. Okay. So moving your lymph, we can see all these little, see, there's a bunch of them here. There's a lot of them in here. They're even around our heart, many of our organ systems. And they do not have muscle tissue like our actual arteries. Here's an artery and a vein. Our arteries and veins have smooth muscle tissue that moves, that pumps the blood for our system, like our heart kind of. Our lymph system does not have that. So we have to move it. We have to stay hydrated and move so our body can process that through properly and give our body things that help pull out the junk, like I said, the ginger, turmeric, herbs, and things like that. So you can stretch, walk. Walking is phenomenal. And you can do things like actually just massaging into your lymph areas if you want. That's especially great anytime you do a bath or a shower. Your muscles are warmed up, circulation is usually better. You can just, when you're putting your lotion on for whatever your bath or shower, just do a little extra lotion massage into those areas where there is lymph. Now, a lot of people usually there's like a circular motion that you want to do, but you can also just move towards the core. You want to move the lymph towards the core because that's where it's going to flush out through the liver, through the kidneys. Sometimes we sweat it out a little bit too, but those are the main things through that bladder system and gut system, liver system. Those are the primary ways that it's going to get out. When the lymph system gets clogged up, for whatever reason, that's going to show up as rashes, inflammation, acne, and it will contribute to toxins building up in the system where we're going to have inflammation over time that can cause more problems down the line. All right, hopefully that all makes sense. I want to wrap up on the kind of strategies portion for today in just a second, because I want to make sure we have time to go through everyone's tools that they're going to be using for the next week or so. But before I do that, really, really quick here, I want to touch on this super fast. Like I said, it's really important to remind yourself that if you can just pick one thing a day, one little habit shift, one little mindset shift, one little stress relief thing. And that's why I love the 21-day challenge that we're doing that kind of partners with this really, really well, because it's really simple. You're just doing one thing. That is an amazing place to start. And if you're in a busy season or you feel a little bit overwhelmed with life and stuff, that's a really great thing to remember is just, okay, if I can just do one thing today, that's a win. I'm winning if I can do the one thing. I don't know what, you guys can see the screen. Did I do, hang on. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. Okay. So I want to touch on that the mental part of it just for 2 seconds because it's really, really important to keep it simple. How you think about your daily routines and habits is going to make or break your ability to build habits that you can maintain long term. So I encourage you to really evaluate what your thought process is around your food choices, your snack choices, your movement, your stress management, things like that. These little lists can be helpful. So if you guys want things like this that you can have options and use, that can be helpful. But actually, one of the easiest things that you can do is to just, I encourage you, if you have a piece of paper or something, write this down or text it to yourself, something like that, is just think about what's one thing that I can do in my morning routine that takes 30 to 60 seconds after I brush my teeth or before I have my coffee, while I'm waiting for my coffee to brew, whatever, right? What's one thing I can fit into the middle part of my day around whenever you do lunch, or some people, it's when they get home from work. What's one little thing that takes 30 to 60 seconds that I can do? And what's one thing that I can do in my evening routine, whether it's while you're watching TV for a few minutes, maybe taking a walk after dinner. Some people like that, 5 minutes or so, or just doing some stretches and movement for 5 to 10 minutes after dinner, or when you're getting ready for bed. So anywhere in that evening, it's really up to you what you feel like works. And we'll talk more specifically as I touch base with you guys here in just a second on what is going to really fit for you. Because some people, it's more like we really got to regulate that nervous system because after a busy day with work, family, whatever, all the things in the evening, the nervous system is just on hyperdrive. And we got to do a lot of things to regulate that nervous system and lower that cortisol, improve the serotonin, and get our nervous system ready to go to bed so we get good rest and our adrenals can replenish, our hormones can replenish, and we can have better balance overall. And then it makes it easier to manage stress the next day, to make better food choices. We have better metabolism, better blood sugar balance, and so on, if we can do that. So sometimes it depends on the person. So we could talk through some of that here in a minute. I hope that was helpful for you. If you're watching the replay, then make sure you touch base and connect so I can get you. I do have a PDF guide. And if you need more specific action plan steps for your life, for your habits, we can go through all of that. All right.